In 1990, Europe ran on coal, oil, and gas. Fossil fuels powered over 55% of its electricity. Renewables were nearly invisible, less than 4% of the total. By 2024, renewables generated almost 50% of European electricity for the first time in history. But the headline hides something important. If you look at where each country is actually heading, not where the targets say they should be, the picture is far more complicated and far more interesting. Europe is not one grid. Every country started from a different place, shaped by its geography, its history, and decisions made decades ago. 10 countries, 1990 to 2025. 2 charts per country. What was produced and what capacity was built. Let's look at the data. France. After the 1973 oil crisis, France made one decision that defined its grid for the next 50 years. Energy independence through nuclear. It built 58 reactors in 15 years, the fastest nuclear build-out in history. By 1990, France was already getting around 75% of its electricity from nuclear. Look at the generation chart. That purple block barely moves for 30 years. Nuclear was the floor, the ceiling, and everything in between. But look at the capacity chart on the right. After 2010, wind and solar start appearing, yellow and green, but nuclear capacity barely shrinks. France is not replacing nuclear, it is adding renewables on top. The challenge France faces today, those reactors are aging. In summer 2022, more than half the fleet, 32 out of 56 reactors, was offline simultaneously, hit by a combination of delayed maintenance and unexpected stress corrosion in the cooling circuits. France, the country that exports electricity to everyone else, suddenly had to import it. Nuclear generation dropped to its lowest level since the 1980s. That is the cost of building an entire fleet in one decade and watching it age in the same decade. France's bet going forward, new nuclear, the EPR2 program, while keeping wind and solar growing. Now look at Germany, and you'll see almost the exact opposite story. In 1990, Germany's electricity came mostly from coal, that dark gray block dominating the bottom of the chart. Coal was East Germany's primary energy source, and reunification in 1990 brought a massive coal-heavy grid into the mix. Then 3 things happened. First, in 2000, Germany passed the Erneuerbare Energiengesetz, the Renewable Energy Law. It guaranteed feed-in tariffs for solar and wind. The effect was immediate. German households started putting solar panels on their roofs. Wind turbines appeared across the north. The yellow and green bars start growing. Second, Fukushima in 2011. Germany watched a nuclear disaster unfold in Japan and made a decision within weeks. Shut down all nuclear plants by 2023. You can see the purple bar shrinking from 2011 onwards and disappearing entirely in 2023. Third, look at the capacity chart. By 2025, Germany is using less than 25% of its theoretical capacity. The UK tells one of the cleanest transition stories in Europe. In 1990, coal provided over half of British electricity. By 2024, it was essentially zero. The last coal plant closed in September 2024, ending 142 years of coal-fired electricity in Britain. What replaced it? First gas, in a wave that's become known as the dash for gas in the 1990s. Combined cycle gas turbines were cheaper and cleaner than coal. The orange bar rises as the grey one falls. Then wind. The UK has a significant geographic advantage. It sits in the path of Atlantic weather systems. It now has the largest offshore wind capacity in the world. Poland, one of Europe's largest coal reserves, an industry that employs tens of thousands and regions that have no easy alternative. This is what energy transition looks like when the human cost is front and center. Look at this chart. That gray bar, coal, has dominated Polish electricity for the entire 35-year period. In 1990, coal provided around 95% of Polish electricity. In 2024, it still provides over 60%. Poland has coal, lots of it. The Silesian coal mines have been running for over a century, and coal employment is a political issue, not just an energy one. But look at the capacity chart from 2018 onwards. Wind and solar start appearing. Poland is building renewables faster than most people realize. The transition is starting. It's just starting later and from a much heavier baseline. Poland also has a nuclear program now underway. Its first plant is expected to come online in the early 2030s. The gray bar will shrink. The question is how fast? Norway, mountains, fjords, and the Atlantic. Its entire electricity system was built around one thing geography handed it for free: water. This is what a clean grid looks like when nature does the work. Norway, almost entirely blue, hydro. Since 1990, Norway has generated between 90 and 99% of its electricity from hydropower, depending on how much rain fell that year. Norway doesn't have a capacity factor problem. Water is stored in the reservoirs and released on demand. Norway is essentially a giant battery for Europe. When German wind and solar overproduce, that power flows north. When Europe needs it back, Norwegian turbines spin. Sweden is a different kind of clean, equal parts nuclear and hydro with wind growing. Sweden quietly runs one of the cleanest grids in the world, and almost no one talks about it. Spain has built the most diverse electricity mix in Europe. Wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, gas, all significant. Spain's solar boom, post-2019, is one of the fastest build-outs anywhere. The capacity chart shows solar capacity tripling in 5 years. Italy went nuclear in the 1960s, then voted to close all its plants in a 1990 referendum triggered by Chernobyl. It's been gas-dependent ever since, with solar now growing strongly. Italy imports more electricity than almost any other European country. The Netherlands built its economy on North Sea gas. That dependence shows in the charts. Gas has dominated for decades, but since 2019, offshore wind has been growing rapidly. The Dutch coast is becoming a wind corridor. Belgium is France in miniature. Nuclear has provided 40 to 60% of Belgian electricity for decades. Belgium was planning to phase it out, then changed its mind. So, where is Europe actually heading? And does the data match what policymakers are promising? The EU's binding target is at least 42.5% renewables in the total energy mix by 2030. Electricity, heating, transport, everything. By 2050, full climate neutrality. In 2024, renewables accounted for 25.2% of EU energy consumption across all sectors. Europe needs to nearly double that in 6 years. Renewables hit 50% of EU electricity in the first half of 2024, but electricity is only part of the equation. Europe is installing capacity faster than it is solving the storage problem. Wind and solar produce when conditions are right, not when demand peaks. The gap between installed capacity and actual generation will widen before it narrows. Two scenarios. In one, fossil fuel prices stay high or volatile. Storage costs keep falling. Grid investment accelerates and Europe approaches its 2030 targets. In the other, cheap LNG from the US and Middle East eases the pressure, coal-dependent countries slow their transitions, and the targets are missed, as the national plans already suggest they will be. The data gives you the trajectory. What tips it one way or the other is geopolitics, price, and political will, none of which appear on a chart.